Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to this edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. This evening, we're going to be discussing essentially on one key topic, which has to do with Anglophones as the Anglophone problem. How collaborative, how helpful, how supportive are Anglophones been to other Anglophones? Are we not where we are because of who we are and what we have become? We are discussing this topic with 5 panelists we are expecting are going to be part of this edition of the program. But as we speak, we have 2 of them already seated in the studio with me. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa is our permanent consultant in the house. Good evening, Apostle, and welcome.
Yes, Mr. Leo, good evening. Good evening, Cameroonians. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening, and all the viewers of Prime Hour. It's a joy to be here today. This is a very sensitive topic, and I believe you will definitely go home with very sound and very important information. Stay glued to your screen as we shall be deliberating on this topic shortly.
We also are in the company of Professor Mark Anthony, who is a Panafricanist. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Leo, and good evening to Cameroonians and all televiewers of My Media Prime, and to my fellow panelists, Ambe, Apostle Ambe, and to all those who are sitting, might be watching us on social media. Like you have seen written Anglophone as the Anglophone problem. We are going to be discussing on this topic, and I'm sure we are going to give our best to make sure that we educate our fellow brothers on who we truly are and how we should relate with one another.
We are expecting the arrival into our studios of Barrister Achu Julius to represent the CPDM party. We also are expecting Prophet Vewusi Chris, who is going to be joining us. I'm sure they are caught in traffic, as well as Prince Mukage, who is a journalist, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa. Have we had enough time to actually expose who we are following what we are faced with today?
Yes, Mr. Leo, time has proven, circumstances equally have proven that Anglophones actually, they are a problem to themselves. Anglophones equally are fighting themselves more than fighting any other enemy they claim to have. Anglophones hate themselves more than hating any other enemy they claim to have. And time has proven beyond reasonable doubt. I'm talking this because of the experiences I've had and the ones I've seen so far. Almost in every strata in the Anglophone cycle, you will discover that we do not love each other. Beginning from the political cycle in this country, the persons that have hated the most, the prime ministers, are Anglophones because of their selfish and greedy interest to occupy his office. They will do everything possible to stigmatize, to lampoon, and to make a mockery of his efforts put in the country. You realize that because of self-aggrandizement and self-interest in the political cycle, we have not loved our own. We have fought our own the most. Way back from the days of the jungle funchers and the days of the Juas and the days of the Estimoners, these guys have never worked in collaboration. They've hated themselves. Going to the religious cycle, I'm talking as a clergy, Anglophone ministers are the ones that will fight the other Anglophone minister from rising. They will hate you for growing. They will sabotage you and they will stigmatize your image, make sure that you are dragged to the floor. They will amplify your errors and they will equally hide your good. They will magnify your mistakes and they will equally silence your good works. That is not coming from the devil or from hell, it's coming from our fellow brothers. They may applaud strangers and celebrate outsiders and decide to bring down and traumatize a person that is coming from their own cycle. How do you explain that even at the political cycle, we as Anglophones, we don't even help to push the person who is at the helm representing the Anglophones in the society? There is no prime minister in this country who has been loved by his own people. Beginning from Joseph Diongute, who is in office right now, he's been hated so much by Anglophones because they are there for their selfish interests. Going to the business world, if you look at it critically, you will hardly see prominent Anglophone businessmen in the world. That is in Cameroon. That's a sign that we do not support or push each other forward. That's a very bad sign. That's to let you understand that we have a serious issue when it comes to ourselves. Then to round it up or to give a total summary, the Anglophone crisis has proven beyond reasonable doubt that we do not love each other. It hasn't. First and foremost, you look at it, it's difficult for them to collaborate. They had a common goal, they had a dream, they had a worry. There was actually marginalization, there was actually discrimination. But you see, the Englishman says the strength of a broom is in its numbers. We are the most dispersed, divided people as far as this country is concerned. Look at the leadership given to the people who were supposed to man a delegation that was to fight against marginalization. The guys are divided, they are stigmatizing each other, satirizing each other, damaging each other. You realize that there is no way we can unite. This one is speaking against this one, they're speaking against one. Coming to the media world, I am a consultant to this TV station, but I can tell you that we Anglophones promote other TV stations that don't even speak the language we speak than the ones that we understand. People will come because of the effort we are trying to put here to communicate truth to our fellow brothers and sisters. It's Anglophones that write on Facebook, they throw stones at us, they sabotage the journalists, they insult the panelists, they damage the TV station. A lone TV station that has been given to us to stand as a voice to communicate our worries and to trumpet our challenges in the country. We are the ones fighting it. We will do advert in other organizations, other TV stations, we will not do advert here. We will satirize the journalists, we will stigmatize the journalists, insult the journalists, because we don't seem to communicate what pleases them, because we are communicating something which is different from what they have as their views. This is very, very serious. You go to the University of Boya, it is professors from the same universities that want to poison and to make sure this one does not sit as vice chancellor. They want to make a mockery and stigmatize each other. Almost every sector. You go to the business sector, you cannot have prominent Anglophone businessmen because we don't push each other. A sign that the Bamilikis are united is a clear sign that you see that they occupy the business world. It means they operate in the principle of supporting each other. How many Anglophone businessmen in the Cameroon? The ones we boast in the northwest, among Mezam is from the western region, that he stayed in Bamenda. Ghana is from the western region, that stayed in Bamenda. Where are the Anglophone elites who are in the business world? It means we are not supporting each other. Jean Tansa was in Bamenda, was a social man from western region. Can you call me any prominent Anglophone businessman? That's to let you understand that we are not there to support one another. So if we keep on analyzing things here, by the time we are done with 2 hours, the 2 hours will be too small to really point out that we have been
we are a problem.
Yes, to ourselves.
Okay. Yes, you are reading of things since the advent of the Anglophone crisis, because when the Anglophone crisis actually erupted, almost everybody said that this is what Anglophones are facing as a problem. But are you still having that same vision?
Mr. Leo, it is really terrible in relation to the position some of us we are having right now based on the position we were having in the past. One of the things I would like first of all to indicate is the idea of anglo-saxonism, which is a cliche and an appellation that we uphold with a lot of pride, which to me is proof of our enslavement. The first thing I want to say is this: Anglo-Saxonism is an appellation which came as a result of our colonization. It has nothing to do with our very cultural background. We have used a cultural background which is imported to become our cultural background, which is a problem on its own. And so the whole idea of I am an Anglophone is having a question mark in the first place. Then secondly, when you look at the whole the idea, you want to find out what makes an Anglophone, let's talk of Anglo-Saxons, what makes the people of Britain, because when we look at their English culture, what is their strength? we discovered that those of us who claim to be Anglophones, we practically lost what made them. That idea, the force of argument, and not the argument of force. We have actually taken the argument of force to become what characterizes Anglo-Saxonism, which is wrong, because the real idea behind Anglo-Saxonism is the force of argument. How you can present your thoughts and opinions without actually hating somebody for what the person has said. That is where we all stood, I think, back in 2016, when we were looking at the whole problem which we were facing, Mr. Leo. We thought maybe the force of argument was what was making a difference, what would differentiate us and what would present us as individuals whom we believe that we have a culture that permits us to say things the way they are. But unfortunately, as time progressed, it all happened that the same field which was supposed to be well positioned with arguments became, in fact, we came in with guns. That started destroying the very base of what we're standing for. Keeping that aside, Mr. Leo, if we have to come back, look at the whole idea, as I started indicating about the culture, the imported culture, what makes a Bamileke man is not that he speaks Francophone, he speaks French. What makes a Bamileke man is his tribalistic culture, which he has been able to build, that permits them to be in synergy. That particular culture that makes them want to support one another is what is differentiating them in Cameroon. Not that they are Francophones. But when it comes to us of the Northwest and Southwest, we have taken the idea of Anglophone and put ahead of us, but we are the same persons who are out to destroy one another. If you look at it today, most of those that are killed in the field, they are Anglophones. Anglophones are using guns to kill Anglophones. Calling some black legs, some white legs, some yellow legs. All that is proof of the fact that we do not understand truly who we are. And as long as we do not understand who we are, we will get to that place where we'll fight one another. And so, secondly, Mr. Leo, or let me say thirdly, we have a problem with the fact that the very cultural values that makes the, for example, the Ngwa man, or the Sawa man, or the man from Southwest have been destroyed. Where you see a child talking to an elder as if, in fact, they no more value that eldership. Mm-hmm. Something that used to be in our very culture, where we stand and respect the elders. But that is no more. Why? Because young persons think that they have now the power, because some of them have guns in their hands. Some of them have the power to sit behind social media and they insult whosoever they want. And that has become a serious problem. Apostle Ambe cited something concerning the hate which we have among ourselves. Anglophones, in quotes, practically hate themselves. Yes. Why do I say they hate themselves? If you see in our common society, you realize that any one of us who wants to lift up his head, like for example, you want to excel, the people who criticize and fight you are not Francophones. They are Anglophones. And so, the first weapon of destruction to the Anglophones is built in the house of Anglophones. And so the question is, do we truly believe that we are working for ourselves or against ourselves? I see some of our brothers who are supposed to be standing to make sure that what we are struggling to uplift from the base can go far, because they are well positioned. But look, they are the same persons that step out to break it down. I am talking now when we go into the political milieu. Individuals who are supposed to, they have been positioned, they have been given seats, which they are supposed to use to empower the people. But they want to be the only ones sitting on the plum tree. And because they want to be the only ones sitting on the plum tree, anyone on the base will not have the opportunity to lift up their head because they will push you down. You can't climb that same tree while they are still on top. And that is a problem on itself. So I think that the whole idea of Anglo-Saxonism is a failure. In fact, it is one of the reasons why we are failing as individuals. And I think if we can remove that cliche and struggle to institute what make us, for example, I want to talk about the Ngwa culture, which is a culture that permits the people to be respectful to one another. A culture that gives honor to the elderly. A culture that permits morality to reign in the community. All those things are the same things we are supposed to empower. But if we are the ones who are fighting in the name of Anglophones against these things, it means we have destroyed our base, and therefore, once the center cannot hold, everything will fall apart.
Okay, Prophet Chris Vewusi has just joined us in the studio. I want him to tell us what he thinks about Anglophone solidarity, because that is what we are talking about. If there was really that solidarity, Anglophones would not pose as a problem to Anglophones.
Good evening, Mr. Liu, and good evening to my co-panelists and to the viewers of Prime R. It's with great joy that I'm here again in the studio talking about Anglophone solidarity. In fact, we don't have solidarity among us. That's what has made this problem complicated, the Anglophone problem. Unlike the Bambili case, like my brother was making mention of, Anglophones, we hate ourselves. There is hatred for one another. Like if you take, for instance, some of the ministers who are in Yaoundé, if they were giving those positions of leadership and they used it rightly to empower their people, there's this French song, Mon frère est en haut, here ma vie a changé. Because they understand that when you are up there, the people who are connected to you will directly benefit from your elevation. But when an Anglophone man is lifted up, what he does is he dances the tune of the music played by the person who has put him up there and forgets his people. And that's why most of these ministers, they don't have support from the grassroots. They don't have support from their people. Because normally a leader, charity begins at home. If you want to change the nation, start by changing your community. Start by impacting the lives of people from your village. If the people from your village cannot even benefit from your promotion, then that promotion is useless. It means you are not a good person, because you cannot clean you cannot clean your frontage. Meanwhile, your kitchen is dirty. Meanwhile, your backyard is dirty. So I think we don't have that solidarity, and not to talk of not just to those who are lifted, even business people, they don't promote their own. For instance, look at a wonderful TV station like this, but you see many Anglophones who are into businesses. You see they prefer to connect to the other media houses and do one or two things with them, sidelining a main media house like this that speaks into the lives of people every day, that communicates with the people every day, that because they don't want to empower their own. They feel that empowering theirs means they are losing their place, which is not the truth. Everybody has his place. Somebody said everybody, there's enough space for everybody up there. If you do what is right, you get your own space up there without anybody hindering you from taking your place. And also, we Anglophones, we feel that nobody is a fool. We claim to be wise, you understand, and that's where we are. That's our problem. We believe that leaders are wise and followers are foolish. That is what makes the Anglophone man very complicated. I'm an Anglophone. Of course, I should be even, if it comes to speaking the truth, we should speak the truth. The truth is that leaders in the Anglophone circle are always looked upon like wise people. So those who are even following are wanting to overtake you, who is like their leader, because they claim that all of them are wise. You see, for instance, that's why even when it comes to this Ambazonian struggle, every one of them is a leader, because this one wants to overtake this, the other one wants to overtake this, and that is the spirit that's a clear demonstration of the Anglophone spirit. We Anglophones, you see, like. In the military, you have many people who are from the north, because people from the north had taken great positions in the country, so they promoted their own. There was a minister I heard, when you come to him for a job, you ask you get literature very mad. You understand? So if you are coming to look for a job, he will ask you the impossible. He will ask you what you don't have. He would ask you even that they're looking for people who have this, because you have that. You see, he's just trying to push you back. So we don't know how to support our own, and that's where we are as Anglophones, having problems here.
Okay, Prince Joel, you are a journalist, and certainly has been following up what is happening in Cameroon, especially with respect to the Anglophone problem. But then, where is the Anglophone problem within the Anglophones?
Thank you very much, Mr. Leonard, for having me once more on your platform. Good evening to my co-panelists, and good evening to the million of Cameroonians within and without that are watching Prime and my media Prime now. I must say that the topic is very timely, because it's coming at a time when many persons are beginning to ask themselves if at all those they chose as leaders are actually their leaders. Because recently in Guti, we saw the population that caught a few guys and handed to the they caught a few guys who call themselves Ambe and handed to the military. I think that, Mr. Liu, Anglophones and the Anglophone man remains a big problem to the Anglophone. I have had the opportunity to mingle with lots of people, and I've realized, Mr. Liu, think a case in point is the Anglophone crisis. When the Anglophone crisis started, many persons, including Prince that I am, on this platform, I'm one of those who will say authoritatively things that could even take my head. Why? Because I felt that at least there are some people out there who were there to maybe fight for what maybe I believe was suffering for, what I'll call marginalization. But now, when you look at how the thing is progressing, you start asking yourself whether you were not taking the wrong step or you were not saying the wrong things. The reason is because those who are ahead now are more of business people. They own big industries. They have a lot of things out there. And a few guys who, yes, they maybe had nothing to show for, who joined the struggle, are extremely rich. You start asking yourself whether they are fighting for the Anglophones whom they wanted to defend, or they are fighting for their interests. That aside, Mr. Liu, I still feel that Anglophones remain a big problem to Anglophones. A simple cases, to my best of definition, except somebody out there thinks the contrary, I know that an Anglophone is someone of whose extraction is from the southern Cameroons. In the days of the Britain, there is this the indirect role, while somebody who is a Francophone comes from assimilation. But now, I remember finishing one debate program one day with one big gun who told me, l'indépendance que vous demandez même là, si on vous donne ça, êtes-vous sûr que les gens du Sud-Ouest vont laisser ça? You understand? It means that we are living in a country where everybody who comes from the Northwest is called a Graphy man. Now, a Southwest man believes that he is not part of this struggle. He believes that the Bamenda man is so stupid. I'm speaking with facts, and I can prove some of those things. Yeah, now, it means that if you look at it progressively, Mr. Liu, we are beginning to have not only a problem between Anglophones, but we are having a problem where brother against brother, because if somebody asked me, maybe a young man that who is an Anglophone, I'll tell the person that, okay, an Anglophone is somebody who comes west of the Mongo, That is somebody whose background is Southern Cameroons. But when somebody feels that he is not part of a people, because maybe the people are barbaric according to them, because each time a number kills somebody, say maybe in the southwest or in the northwest, the normal say is your brothers have done it again. And now when you say your brothers, the question is whether those brothers are only brothers to Bamenda people when they do bad things. But when favor comes, it's not looked upon the entire people. And also, Mr. Liu, when you look at even some of our brothers who've had the opportunity to be at the corridors of power, I believe that even a Prophet Vewusi said it here, some of the big guns who are ministers, they of English extraction. I bet you, Mr. Liu, that if you go to Yaoundé and you want to meet an Anglophone minister, it's going to cost you more pain than seeing a Francophone minister. The reason is the moment you're leaving and you're going to Yaoundé, for instance, you want to see a minister of Menchum extraction, if at all there is any, your own Menchum brother will be the one to start making calls. It has happened to me. They are listening, they are watching, they know what I'm talking about. They start making calls. Why do you want to see the minister? I said, no, I just want to go. But you cannot leave Douala to come and greet him. I said, it's to greet him. He is our minister before. Right. Yes. But now, the same people say, no, the minister is not in Yaoundé, he has gone to Douala, he has did that. Your own brothers. They are the same people, some of whom are even secretaries to the ministers. Once they notice you're around, they tell you the minister is on a program. And once the minister discovers that you had come and not seen him because of your own brother, it's a problem. So I feel, Mr. Liu, that if you look, let me take a very simple example. If you go to the Northwest, for instance, pick out a tribe like the Banso people. You will agree with me that the Banso people have a lot of solidarity. That is why you will not joke with development in the Banso man's land. That is why if a Banso man discovers that there is an opening here, he makes everything to bring the brother in. It's a contrary with other tribes like Mr. Joe, where I come from. You will agree, you will discover with me, Mr. Liu, that in my own small community, it is rather either it is just a family thing or a few friends. Any person who is not linked to that immediate family or a few friends is out of the ballgame. So I feel that, Mr. Liu, Anglophones are a great problem. And coming to the media world, it is regrettable that we have more problems with our English colleagues than with our French colleagues. The truth is, I belong to SNJC, Syndicat National des Journalistes Camerounais, and I belong to Kamasej, which is purely English. Mr. Let me add my point. I'm not using your platform to antagonize, but I'm saying that there are a lot of things within the English world, particularly the Anglophones, that needs to be fixed. If we do not fix these things, we'll only be rowing behind shadows. That's why a majority of Francophones, when I do platforms with them, they'll tell you, they just look at what we're doing as comedy. Why? Because they know that it is your own brothers with whom you feel you are fighting, who go and say that Kum is a no man, Prof. Mark is no man, and Apostle Ambe is a no man. Those people are no people.
Okay, I want Julius Chofo, I am glad you're watching the program. You have sent a message indexing, I'm sure correcting Apostle Ambe and Mark. I'll read it out and they will react to you, please. Julius Chofo, you're watching from the United Kingdom. You say Apostle Ambe seems to forget that the game plan for assimilation the Anglophones was based on divide and rule. The political class of Anglophones is totally discredited, and their machinations against their prime minister cannot be portrayed as a characteristic of Anglophones. Professor Mark Anthony is wrong about the Anglo-Saxon thing. Remember that Anglo-Saxon culture itself comes from northern Germany and is not indigenous to the UK. Almost every country in the world has once been colonized at the same point, and both the colonizer and colonized do absorb things from each other. Aspects of Anglo-Saxon culture bind me, a Bamenda man, to a Boya man, but does not take anything away from my Bamenda-ness. Okay? Divide and rule. Should we still be talking about divide and rule today? Are we not aware? Are we not educated enough? Are you saying that, yes?
They don't divide a people who are not divided.
Okay.
It's true.
Anglophones are not toddlers. Anglophones are not babies. Nobody can come and divide you and your brother if you are not ready to divide with your brother. The truth is, I made a statement once. I said the Anglophone crisis is the whole nation against the Northwest. Take it from my mouth.
Thank you, Apostle Ambe. Thank you very much.
This is what I said. I wrote it on my social media handle. I said the Anglophone crisis is all the nation against the Northwest. As a matter of fact, it should be tagged a Northwest crisis.
Fact.
It's not Anglophone crisis. It's Northwest crisis. And this should sink deep. And until we accept these realities, we're going to be beating the air. Song said something. If you know you are in danger, you're no more in danger. If you don't know you are in danger, that's when you are in danger. The earlier we know that the Anglophone crisis is the 9 regions of this country against one region called the Northwest region, the better. As the days are going by, subsequently we will change the name from the Anglophone crisis to the Northwest crisis. So when you say that the hatred for the Prime Minister by fellow ministers who are looking for their interest is not a sign that the Englishman is against the Englishman, let us leave that political cycle and come down to the business cycle. The Bamele case in this country are ruling the business world. That is because they have tontines everywhere and they support each other. We as Anglophones were into the business world. How many Anglophone has lifted up an Anglophone? I've traveled to other countries. You go to Nigeria, there's something called apprenticeship in Nigeria. If the Igbos are ruling the business cycle in the world because they have a culture that you don't rise alone, you rise with somebody. People sell under masters, masters settle them. It becomes a culture in the Igbo land. And that's the reason why, even though the East is a minority in Nigeria, lesser than the West, which are the Yorubas, and lesser than the North, who are the Hausas, they are the ones that dominate the business world. It's to let you understand that it is not the demography or the population of a people that determines their strength. It is their collaboration and their solidarity. If the East has dominated Nigeria in the domain of business, it's because they work in collaboration. If you go to Sudan, there is a tribe called the Mandinkas. They are into agriculture. A Mandinka man doesn't eat until he knows the neighbor has eaten. When you hear the word Ubuntu, Ubuntu was a white man that came to Africa and he kept a gift and told children to run a race. The person that picks that gift will take it. The children, none of them ran. They held their hands together, moved over, collected and shared it. It wasn't Africa, it was a community. Ours is a sour cake to taste. Let's go out of the business world. Let's go for the sake of the gospel. We are preachers. No one has ever fought us like our own fellow brothers. The moment you maintain the same status quo with them, you are fine. When you start breaking record out of the status quo, they start tagging you names of being demon possessed, being a witch, being a fake prophet. It comes from us. That is the spiritual world, the ecclesiastical world. Let's get back now to the academic world. You go to the University of Boya, you go to other universities in the country. The people who are looking for an Anglophone to come down is the fellow Anglophones. VCs of University of Boya have been greatly fought. Lambi did not stay in power for long because it was Anglophones that stood against him to crush him down. If Anglophone ministers are afraid of other ministers, they are afraid of their fellow Anglophone ministers, not Francophone ministers. They are more protective against their brothers than themselves, than the other ministers. Why? Because we have a culture. You see, when we say Cameroon came out of the river of prawns, Rhodos, Cameros. Cameros, prawns is the crab spirit. If you put crabs in a basin, one is trying to go up, the other will pull them down. I think that description fits the Anglophone community. The crab is a kind of creature that doesn't want the others to rise. Crabology. That is where we have a serious problem. So when Julius sits in England and doesn't understand what is happening on ground here, it gets me amazed. The reason why they have forcefully put a Bakwere man at the forefront of the crisis is to drag the Southwesterners into this thing. They are not part of it. Let us stop beating around the bush and dancing here and there. Coming back to the Anglophone crisis, we have killed more Anglophones ourselves than what the military has done in the name of Black Leg. We are not the first persons to have such a revolution. Go and ask the people of Bougainville who wanted to break out of Papua and New Guinea. They had people who did not buy their ideology. But because we came from the same root, I won't kill you. If you want to convince me that what you are doing is correct, convince me to believe you. Don't kill me to believe you. We should be learning how to convince men to join us. Don't killing men in order to cause them to join us. That is not democracy. That is not, it is fear intimidation. It is but certain that not everyone will buy your philosophy. It's certain. Some people may only come to the consciousness after you have gained the independence or gained the victory. Now you say somebody did not believe you and you kill the person. Are you telling me that me who believe you and stay alive tomorrow, you will not kill me? You will kill me. See, these are the things we are trying to draw out here as finish lines so that we come to some level of sanity. Because the drama is too much. The drama is too much. In the same vein, our fathers who wanted the independence of this country from the 1960s, they were all traitors to each other. There is a family in the country who sold the rest of the families and for their interests and protect interests. When we start working for self-aggrandizement, not for community build-up, not for community development, we kill the destiny of people. Go back to our parliamentarians. Our parliamentarians take micro grants to go and build their houses. Their communities don't have water. They don't have light. They don't have even food to eat. The ministers in this country who are of the Anglophone origin extract, they don't have taro to their communities. You are telling us that Anglophones and Anglophones hate each other. Listen to me. Go to different places. A Bamileke man from MRC will never insult an Bamileke in CPDM. Because Bamileke is Bamileke. Party differences does not separate cultural ties. This should sink deep. If we threaten to kill Anglophones who are ministers because we have left the cultural bond and the extraction of our roots and we have tied it to political party, I might not believe your political party, but since you come from the same root with me, defend me. That's what we're talking about. Some people may not catch the light of your understanding immediately, but it will take time for them to join you and come along with you. This is where we have a very serious problem as Anglophones. Listen to me, and I listen very well. When those fathers sat in the Eastern Regional House in Enugu in 1953, they all did not have the same philosophy. They did not. Ndeli was pushing a team towards Nigeria because of marriage and Yoruba woman. Foncha was pushing them towards East Cameroon. But listen to me. Nobody killed the other for being a black leg. Where did black leg philosophy come from in this generation? Julius Chufo, I've answered you.
Okay.
I should go direct with you, Julius. You spoke of the Saxons and the Anglos, the Angles. The Saxons who left northern Germany and united with the Angles to form what we today call the United Kingdom actually had different cultures that came and united. They never colonized one another. That's the first thing you should understand. It is Great Britain that went around the world colonizing and came to Africa, colonized most of Africa, and part of whatsoever is called the Southern Cameroons was under their trusteeship, which means they were practically a colonial master, implying that what we call English that we learned and the culture of the English people was actually instilled and imputed in us. It was not original with us. It had never been original with us. We were forced with it. We were schooled with that culture. But that cultural position has never been that of the people of the so-called Southern Cameroons, or, let me put it back, the people of the Northwest, present Northwest and Southwest region. We only learn the culture. And so if you tell me nations were around the world were colonized, who were those who colonized them? Britain colonized almost half of the world. And so they were transferring their very culture to various nations. They were not taking anything back. Don't tell me that there was an exchange. When they were colonizing you people, they never took anything from you because they were not ruling you people directly. They came to tell you what you need from them. That's why you should hold this in your mind. You can't claim that Anglo-Saxonism is a culture of the people of the Northwest and Southwest region. No, it is not their culture. It is a borrowed culture and not just a borrowed, it was a culture that was forced on them through colonialism, which is a barbaric system of trying to push people to force to take a direction which they do not want. I don't think for 1 second, if you asked our kings of those days if they wanted to be ruled by others, they will accept. No, they will never have accepted, because they had what they wanted for their people. And so, if I may come back, if you get to look at the so-called Anglo-Saxon culture which we are holding up, which we believe is us, what is the difference between you, who is coming from the Anglophone region, and the person who is coming from the Francophone region? It is just the language that you people are speaking. Today, you people have become more enemies to yourself than the people you claim that were marginalizing you people. And that, to me, has nothing to do with Anglo-Saxonism. I think we have a fundamental problem, which is a value problem, which is a cultural problem. We have a cultural identity misplacement, which we need to go back and fix. If we do not fix it, we'll keep fighting among ourselves. I think Apostle Ambe mentioned the situation that is happening right now, where we are having a crisis that is in the two regions, but those who are practically behind it are those from the Northwest region, not those from the Southwest region. We only take individuals to put in places in order to give their face, to stand like, okay, a support factor. But I will tell you, we are in a messy situation where we fight among ourselves and we fight against ourselves.
The Fimasha in the BLM is not from the Northwest.
Mr. Leo, you see, if you look...
Fimasha is not from the Northwest.
You see, this, I want to say this.
We have many activists like Tapan, Ivo, and the rest.
Mr. Leo, we have a lot of them who are actually coming from the Southwest region. But look for a typical Southwesterner. They will practically tell you this thing is coming from the Northwest. Okay. It's not their problem. So why is it like that? It is proof that, first of all, we are not united. Okay. We are having a fundamental problem, which is that of division. We do not have synergy among ourselves.
Okay. Mr. Leo, thank Apostle Ambe for letting us know the fight is a Northwest fight. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm very happy with this. Your topic is really educating us. Greetings to Apostle Ambe. He is really telling us the truth. Is Samuel writing from Alakuma in Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm you, Peter from Banyo. If you see Anglophones fighting each other, it is the same like children from one womb fighting amongst themselves. When they fight, they still remain children from the same womb. Thank you, Peter from Banyo. Good evening in the studio. This is Jesus Boy watching from Simbok in Yaoundé. I'm enjoying your program. Greetings to all watching Prime R. Thank you very much. I really like what you people are saying. May God bless you people, Mr. Leo. Good evening to you too. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Since ever I started watching this program, it's today that I believe that we, the Anglophones, are to blame, following the topic of today. May God bless Apostle Ambe, Professor Mark, and the rest of the panelists. I am sure that the Anglophones watching you people there are listening very well. Mbu Zachary writing from Vikovi, Jakiri subdivision. Good evening to you. Good evening, Leo. Your topic is so touching and the real challenge of Anglophone of yesteryears. All Anglophones elites, in quote, minister, directors, etc., focus only on the immediate family, nothing elsewhere. I mean it. Mbacha Nelson is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Davidson from Oyuka. Nice debate. I am disturbed when the panelists compare a tribe, Pamdike, to members of a whole state, Southern Cameroon. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kum Leonard, Apostle and Prof, our very journalists as well as other Anglophones, too, at times for fear of the suppressive government or other reasons best known to them, hush down some panelists who try to present truth, happenings exactly as they occur and possible way out of prevailing crisis. Sitting on a panel as you are doing right now and washing our dirty linens in public makes the oppressor happy and equally laugh at us. Do Neng is writing from Jinicom. Hello, Mr. Leo and all in the studio. I do not know his name with the black cap. Okay. Why are we where we are today? He has joined the divide and rule methods. Every colonized country inherits the culture of their masters. Billy is writing from Takamanda. Leo, some ministers from Northwest openly told the people from their area that if you don't follow them in Amoka, you should not ever expect favor from them. Nelson, okay, writing there. Now, let's look at your field. Yes. You're a man of God. We have Anglophones who you see the way they relate with other men of God from other areas. How supportive have we had the Anglophone communities to what you guys are doing as Anglophone?
The truth is that, like what Apostle Ambe said, talking about the gospel, most Anglophone preachers are divided. You see, we don't really love ourselves. When you see your brother rising, you know, of course, the truth is that as a prophet, the enemy of a prophet is not even a native doctor. It's another prophet. The enemy of a man of God is a man of God. Most of the battles we have it with our own fellow preachers and ministers of the gospel. But mostly those of the Anglophone origin, they are the ones who will do everything to bring down their brother. They don't know how to celebrate their own. And it is so bad. For instance, if you get to the Igbo land, you see Igbo preachers, they support one another. They can easily help one another. You go to Nigeria, an Igbo, that's why it's like they function like a clique, like a clique.
Yes,
if I find
yeah.
They function in a clique. You see the Yorubas, they are in their own corner. You have the Igbos, many Igbo preachers, they associate and they fellowship among themselves, and they help one another. Unlike for us here, Anglophones, who want to fight one another. You want to be the one to be at the top. You invent, you fabricate a lot of things to dirty the name of your brother so that he can go down and order. You give him names. That is the spirit that reigns among Anglophone ministers of the gospel. And it is very bad. That's why if you look at it for some time now, the trend has been shifting. If you look at the who are those pulling weights now in the country, most of them are French. They are Francophones. But let's say some years back, the Anglophones were the ones who were leading in ministry. Even when it comes to gathering crowd, attracting following, most Anglophones were the ones at the lead.
But when Dr. Paul Inenche came here, we saw Anglophones leave Bamenda and also for other towns to come. And when Apostle Johnson Suleiman comes here, Papa Oyede the same.
They like to support outsiders. But would they give that very support to their own? No. If it's Dr. Paul Inenche, they are looking for connections. They want to take pictures, identify with big names, say I'm connected to the great man of God, so I'm also great. That's what is in their mind. And as they are supporting, they are also showcasing themselves and believing that through that people will believe in them. They are looking for credibility, which is even a poor method of building your ministry, because you can't build your ministry depending on someone who is out there. You have to build your own capacity and then be able to raise that ministry to the level that you want it to be. Because what happened is Dr. Paul Inenchen came, he is gone. The reality remains the same. You have to work. You have to do your best. You have to put a lot of energy to make sure you raise your ministry. He has come and he has planted his own ministry too. So to an extent, you helped him to plant his ministry, and who will help you plant your own? You are the one who needs to help yourself. So the best way to grow your ministry is investing into your own ministry. That's what many of our Anglophone brothers will not understand, and they cannot help one another. For instance, if we were like to coming together and say, okay, let's see how we can support this preacher this month, and then the next month we support this other one, so that we can build up and be able to forge ahead in ministry, you will see that it will not happen. It will not happen. So a man of God put a post which I liked, and I commented on it. He was talking about the fact that a group was open to welcome a minister into the country. After the minister has gone, people start jumping out of the group, meaning that that group is useless because the group was with the reason to receive, to host a man of God coming from outside. So when he has gone, that group is useless, meaning that we don't see the need of interacting among ourselves, sharing ideas and supporting one another. We only have the mind of supporting someone who is coming from far. It's because he has a big name, and so we want to hide under that name and also make our name. That's the problem with us ministers of the gospel.
Yes, but don't we think that as Anglophones, we admire the Dr. NHS, the Papa Yedipos, and these are people who have been carried to these positions by their own. Yes. Why don't we also come as to project so that tomorrow you also be the next NHS, Apostle Ambe, the Oyedipos, and it is the people who project their own.
The truth is that, Mr. Liu, that's the mentality I have. For instance, I don't see why I should support Pastor Paul Inenchen when I have my brother here, Apostle Ambe, who is doing well, and I think I should give him the support that he needs, because we are here. Revival in Cameroon will never be provoked, will never be masterminded by an outsider. It will be a Cameroonian minister who is going to provoke the revival all we are waiting for. So I think that we don't have that mindset. Okay. We feel that the best will always come from outside. We don't believe in our own.
Okay.
Look at what was happening before. You will find many Cameroonians going to Nigeria for prayers, as if there are no men of God in Cameroon. You will see them queue up looking for prayers. Some of them who will die because of road accidents and so many other things, because they are running to Nigeria looking for prayers. Meanwhile, in Cameroon here, we have great men of God who are anointed, who are empowered, who can be instruments to touch them. But it's a mentality that we have built, that the best is outside, and as such, many people are looking up.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Your program is very interesting. Stop calling, please. Don't call, just send me a message. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Your program is very interesting. More grace to your able. Fanso writing from Mark Bar. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and the rest in the studio. I'm so happy for your topic of today. Samuel writing from Boya. This one says, Mr. Leo, good evening. Anglophones are the problem to Anglophones, like some of the elites and some in the diaspora. Station in less than no time. Mr. Angola is writing from Bangor. Apostle Ambe, you are really doing the work of an apostle. Your wisdom is from above, not leaving out the other men of God with you people.
It's a guess.
Okay, the topic today. The topic of today, okay. Good evening to the panelists. Great contributions, please. What does Apostle Ambe mean by Anglophone crisis is a Northwest crisis? I'm totally against that phrase. He should rephrase his words. Apostle Ambe, many persons are really concerned about what you just said. Eh?
Yes. That is because we are not willing to accept realities.
Okay. If
you look at it critically, those of us who have gone down to the field, the collaboration between the Northwest and the Southwest is very slim. They don't want to accept this reality. And if you want to go and check the number of persons that have died in the crisis, the population of the North has suffered the most. It's to tell you where the heat is really on. They will even go out to the extent. I've suffered abuse in places where people say the people are even fighting in Southwest are transferred forces from Northwest to make it look like it's a Northwest and Southwest thing. I'm telling you, we have been insulted as far as this crisis is concerned. So we are telling you what we have experienced. That they said I have seen somebody from Fakoto told me that. So why don't you just face the reality and see it the way it is? One of the things I do, I don't mince words. I don't do 419 on television. As it is, I point it squarely. Learn from it, re-strategize and get better, rather than just arguing blindly and sheepishly. That's the simple truth. Let's be sincere. So it is important for us to understand what we are facing and what we are fighting at. That's just my opinion based on the confrontations and the research I've done on ground. Yes, we have been insulted by people from the other region, telling us that we are the ones doing these things. So I'm telling you out of experience.
Okay, Prince, so many issues here, but how much support do we get from Anglophones as Anglophones ourselves?
The support generally, if I were to read it, if I were to read the support that Anglophones get from Anglophones, it would be a kind of a 20%. I'm speaking from personal experience. It's quite unfortunate that we are into this because, like I said before now, Mr. Liu, I've had somebody who has told me, what you guys are even fighting for, if I told even give it to you, are you sure that Southwest will? I think Apostle Ambe, like he said, he's very, what he's saying is the truth. But given that at times truth is bitter, but I just believe that he has said it because even on WhatsApp group where some of us are, even physically, even when you travel, when something bad happens, that thing is a Bamenda man who does it. Yes. And even the Bamenda people within the government are the ones who want to overshow. That's what he said. So I feel that talking about support, Mr. Leo, the Englishman is still to understand the spirit of Ubuntu. There is something I want us to understand, Mr. Liu. In the 2018 presidentials, once the CRM party candidate or the candidate for that party, Professor Maurice Kamto, bounced out. It is one of the reasons why even here in Douala 5, you have people like Noran who are parliamentarians. I'm not saying she would not have been parliamentarian, but now Douala 5 is one of those areas that are predominantly that those you have the majority of Bamileke people and the Bassa people. Now, the Bamileke people are those people that want one man. A Bamileke man can pay transport. I'm not stigmatizing any tribe, but I'm just being objective. They can pay fare here in Fengu Drombange and go right to Aqua to buy a rod for 2,000 francs. They believe that is their brother's thing. Okay? But it's not the case with us Anglophones. It's not the case with us. That is why the 2018 presidential elections just acted as an eye-opener. Look at those who are within this political party. It tells you what it entails. It tells you that the people did not see a party, they saw a brother. And they felt that, okay, it's time our own brother took the presidency. So they came out as a people. But now, is that the case in other parts of the country? No, it's not the case. And in order not to call names, Mr. Liu, I gave you a very simple example from an area where I come from. It is very difficult because it's something that is built. Kum Leonard and the just is something just like a circle. Once you're not close to these people, forget it. In 2013, when the senatorial elections were launched, a candidate came who was from our area, Cheka Gladys. Now, those who are up there who would have facilitated her to get the senatorial position felt that, okay, having a senator and at the same time having this big gun, at the end of the day, there could be conflict. I want to come alone. This is how the position that would have stayed within the people went to Ngwa. So it just tells you that when the Anglophone problem is concerned, Mr. Leo, because we first of all need to look at it micro before we go grow. Now, we look at the fact that we come from an area, a small community. Do we first of all as a community want to help each other? That Mr. Leo is working at, for instance, say the port. Can Leo help Prince who needs a job? That's what we're talking about. Because Anglophone is not an issue of Ambe. It's not the separation. No.
That's the error many people think are making out there. We are looking at Anglophones generally. That is why we looked at how Anglophones are supportive to the church. The church, yes.
Yeah, so Mr. Leo, I was saying that when I look at Anglophones here, I know one man who used to be in the penitentiary of a village in the northwest. Most persons who are informed should know him. The entire community entered the penitentiary. When the people of the south do it, you people call them they are tribalistic. They are not. They just believe that, okay, my brother is ahead, like the prophet was saying, mon frère est ministre, ma vie a changé. But contrarily to us, I have had brothers who've written the police concours, succeeded and called me and told me, don't make it public. Because if we make it public, we're afraid a certain person somewhere will crush us down instead. That's the community we're living in this country. It means that we have people up there who want to do everything. That all the glory, it is either them did it or you did not do it. So I think that it's time we took away this mindset and started building, Mr. Liu.
Okay.
On this platform, I want to appreciate people like you. I want to appreciate people like Bar and the others. Because there are people where you want to just make a phone call. Hello, Mr. Liu, I'm into this shit. I needed this. But now you want to feel that I have somebody up there. It takes you 10 months to get to see the person. And your own brother who is a secretary at the ministry. What I'm saying there, I understand it. Your own brother who is a secretary at that ministry is the same person who tell you the minister is not there, whereas we saw his gendarme sitting outside. He tells you come next week. The minister just came to Douala. Said, I left Douala. The minister is a whole entourage. And the minister cannot come to Douala. You're telling me he was in Dangote when I did not see an entourage was coming. It just tells you that we have a mindset in this country, Mr. Leo, that if we do not wipe it, if you go, for instance, Apostle Ambe made a very clean example. Go to the Southwest, for instance. Go to the University of Buea, for instance. Most of those who clean, just normal cleaners, how much do they earn? They earn huge sums. Who kept them there? But I'd rather live in a country where once you are up there, if Prince comes with his application, it is the application of Prince you want to ask the secretary whether the secretary saw it. And once the secretary saw the application, you have interest in it, not to promote the young man. But just because you feel that the young man coming, they will celebrate him in the village, let me be the only one to be coming to the village.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Lieutenant, and give a hand to Apostle Ambe Valentine. He just on the point, right on. Tell us we have to learn from our mistakes and build back our homeland. Bamenda and Mukong Rafaela Kuma, writing from Bafia. Good evening to you all in the studio. Please, man of God, Jesus said a prophet is not known in his hometown. If you see people going to Nigeria for prayers, it's very normal. Mr. Moses is writing from mile 4.
We should do the same thing in Nigeria, right? The same thing should be happening in Nigeria. Nigerians should also come here. But are Nigerians coming here?
Okay.
They are not.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. I follow your program online. So interesting, but I think the solution of Anglophone problem lies on the population. They should step up and fight for their rights. Richard is writing from the United States of America. Greetings, Mr. Leo. It is a dishonesty to suggest that a Southwest man doesn't think that the Southern Cameroon struggle is for them. As far as this Southern Cameroon question is concerned, most of the heads has always been people from the Southwest, from Chief Ayamba, Justice Ebong, Dr. Aokwanga, Dr. Sako, etc., and are all from the Southwest. He claims that they put a Southwest man to drag the Southwest people into the struggle. That is a lie, because all the Southern Cameroon leaders after Von Gojidinka were all from the Southwest even before the war. Dr. Wesley is also writing from the United States. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I have written you this. The problem we face today in Cameroon can be solved if the churches come as one and talk to the citizens. That is to educate the people about what the true meaning of love is. Because if we cannot love our fellow brothers and sisters, we can't love God, whom we don't even see, no matter the number of men of God we invite. Maxell is writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Maxell. Greetings, Mr. Liu, all the panelists, Apostle Ambe. When the lawyers were molested, the UB students beaten, did the military ask if they were from Northwest or Southwest? Those who died for us to get the GCA board, were they from Northwest or Southwest? And in relation to ministries, Mr. Liu, these apostles know fight each other for members because they know what they benefit from them. Look at how the apostles are fat.
Why would the journalists who grow tiny every day?
Unhealthy without any job. Franklin is writing from Thailand. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Okay. Mr. Liu, the Anglophones problem is this people of Southwesterners point. They claim they are richer and that if they separate, Bamenda man will take all. Okay, we have just been joined by Statue Julius. Byster, before you came, we were already discussing on the situation on ground. You are reading of the situation, looking at Anglophones as the Anglophone problem today.
Thank you very much for inviting me once more in your TV house to discuss this very crucial and very important topic about Anglophones. I'm sorry for coming late because the road I took was too jam-packed with vehicles and I couldn't make it on time. But anyway, I'm here. And I came because the topic was very interesting and it touches the substratum of the issues we have. I strongly, on the contrary, feel that Anglophones don't have a problem.
Okay.
Anglophones are faced with a misunderstanding of the realities of a country that has been created by our foreparents without they knowing themselves. You know, I always say, Southern Cameroon, for example, when our parents brought us together to meet our brothers to form this country that we have, they never knew each other. It was like a wild goose chase or some probability. Say, look, 1 + 1 can be 2, so let's just do it. They never took the pains of understanding each other before asking for this measure. So we got into it. While into it, we were struggling to put things in the right perspectives. But we also realized that we the Anglophones were struggling to be in the favor of whoever was in power to pull the carpet to his own end. And by so doing, we lost what we call the protection of our kind. As we lost this protection of our kind, that's why you see everybody's complaining that if you go to an office, you meet an Anglophone and a Francophone, you prefer to talk to an Francophone first. Because of that, the basis of the union, we lost this idea of protecting our kind. Okay, you see, with the evolution of time, everybody got dispersed, and the political awareness that we had in the 60s, some sort of disappeared. As it disappeared, there was some reawakening around the 90s. That died down because, for example, Frundi, who was claimed to be, who was supposed to be the Anglophone leader at that time, went for greener pastures, in the sense that he thought he could conquer Cameroon. But you see, at the same time, he's part of those who actually made this country to be one. And they never understood the other guys, the guys on the other side. They never understood how Francophones think. Though everything being equal, he created an impact. But he should have, if he stayed the leader for Anglophones, today he will be the one calling the shots. So we see, so I realized, what I realized is that we Anglophones don't really have a problem as such. But as we lost this protective instinct, it's now like everybody for himself and God for us all. Okay, for example, it is difficult now to say who is an Anglophone leader.
It's very true.
It's practically impossible. We're the clamoring, we can be clamoring on politics. It's difficult to point the finger on someone that, look, this is the guy I think is our leader. Let's follow him. So that's where we find ourselves. So it is not a problem as such to me. It's a matter of getting our think tankers, these guys who think for us, to sit down and put up a political structure.
Loss of identity.
Because we can't just sit and do what these so-called Ambe guys and the talks are doing and you think you will succeed. We have to do politics the way it's supposed to be done. At one point in time, there was this confidence in the Anglophones in this country. But this nonsense that they just done has killed it, destroyed it completely. And so I'm telling you, I'm sure this country was in agreement that it is high time for an Anglophone to be the president of this country after this republic. I'm sure everybody was, let me say, 3/4 of this country was convinced to that. But because of these things that have happened, who can be confident? Who can have that confidence again in us? So you see, our problem, there's no problem between you and me. Because no matter what, as we're sitting here, we're very comfortable with each other. Though we will disagree. Very true. Though we don't like to vouch or stand behind you, but at the end of the day, we always identify ourselves as being together. The next thing is that we came into a setup which was divided into tribes. Then suddenly Anglophones became a tribe.
Yeah.
In the setup of the country, the Anglophone is considered as a tribe.
It's a tribe.
True. But as we get into the tribe, you and me will know in the substatums, we're not of the same tribe. The Bafuchu man and the Kame man they won't speak the same language, so we cannot be of the same tribe. The Tika and the Gembas. So on and so forth. And then you mix up again the Meta man and the Bakweri man. We are not the same tribe. So in that melee, in that mixed up, we find ourselves in petty groups, whereby understanding becomes very difficult. Prince just said it. If you are not a clique of a leader of the Anglophone or English instruction or Anglophone instruction, you are not in his clique, you are excluded. Yeah. So at the end of the day, this thing that Francophone look at us as a tribe. With us, we don't look at ourselves, we don't look at it as such. But that's what we're supposed to look at. We do the contrary. Because we say, no, I have my small people. If I cannot get from my clique, okay, I can better try somebody from my village. And so on and so forth. So you see, at the end of it, to me, Anglophones don't have problems amongst themselves as such. But it's the perception that we now have of the situation of the country. Can you imagine that if the guys who supported separation decided to go for elections without saying it, for example, and won all the seats in parliament and senate, and they decide to put forward that idea, do you know you create more impact than what they're doing?
Of course.
What they're doing is so stupid. It doesn't make sense. So at the end of the day, is that a problem or a misunderstanding? They've actually gone wrong. They've actually got it all wrong. By not wanting to go for politics, but want to use the guns that they cannot even use to fight whatever they cannot even fight. So by so doing, it is creating what we call a divide and rule, a division amongst us, which has no sense, no meaning. Okay. You and me cannot even divide. We cannot even define it. Okay. If I tell you what as a Bavuchu man has as a problem with the Bafu man, nobody will say there's nothing. What as a big command has and will have with a Babanki man? Nothing. Or me a Bavuchu man and a Bakweri man? Nothing. But it is just this misconception of what we've got into that we don't know how to harness it. I would prefer hanging on splinter groups, which at the end of the day becomes dictatorial. Okay, look at the good idea of AAC1 and AAC2. I always say it will not work because it is not democratic. A group of people just sit, take a decision, and want to force everybody to accept it. Like the Ambe guys, the same thing. They got no connection from the people down there. They just decide to sit down and say, look, it is either this or nothing. It's either this way or the highway. No, come on. Okay. That's what we have. We don't have Anglophones amongst Anglophones, don't have a problem.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and all the great men in the studio. Anglophones are so much self-divided. Please, I want to know where this thing called Black Leg originated from. I'm King David, writing from Yaoundé. Okay. G. Lucas says, good evening, Mr. Liu. Barrister is right. I think that we are not at war with each other. What is happening is just what was not done prior to our reunion with our brothers from East Cameroon. Good evening to you, G. Lucas, who is a regular panelist with us here. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I appreciate the topic and the efforts of the panelists, but in a topic like this, invite a historian because they are bringing to the table a lot of wrong facts. The reason conquered the world was not colonialism, but rather the power of science and technology that gained steam in England. Let them do more research and stop dividing English-speaking Cameroonians. Please, I would love anybody who think that they can do better. I would love you guys to write to me after the program. I will invite you for the next edition to clarify people. Greetings to you all in the studio. Pastor Achu, I'm surprised that today you still come on TV to say the things you are saying. Your party chairman organized what they called the National Dialogue, but I admire your courage. Okay, thank you very much. Stop calling, please. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I do appreciate Apostle Ambe Valentine for all he's saying. Is for the better up of us, the Anglophone, as to make sure we come back to be like brothers. Greetings to all in the studio. I'm Valentine Tandy Chibi, writing from Bafia. This one says, good evening, Mr. Liu. Your program is very interesting. I love it. Cornelius is writing from Simbok in Yaoundé. Thank you, Cornelius. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Amatanga from Mbankomo, Yaoundé. Please tell Apostle that it's not a Northwest problem, but the Anglophone problem. Nobody can stop it. Okay. Apostle Ambe, the Anglophone crisis is bigger than Cameroon and the UN. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Is barrister. Okay. No, he's just asking. He asked a question. No. Man of God, people come from Nigeria, South Africa, and all over the world for prayers to Apostle John Chi. Watch his channel. You will see what I'm saying, okay? Mr. Leo, good evening. I love this program. We have only one problem. We should love ourselves. I'm Michael, writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Leo. We can only succeed when we love to see others succeed. If you hate the progress of others, you cannot succeed. Most of us don't like when our brothers and or sisters are succeeding. Snazzy at New Bell, Bomenda, okay? There's a New Bell in Bomenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and your crew in the studio. I'm very impressed with today's topic. Just want to say more grace to Apostle Ambe. He's very right when he says the Anglophone crisis is a thing of the Northwest region. Since from the beginning of this crisis, the Southwesterners have only but about 30% into the struggle, while those in the Northwest carry the cross. Julius is writing from Bomenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Your program is so educative. I'm sure Apostle Ambe is speaking the truth. Muhammadu is writing from Kumbu. Good evening, TV panelists. How can you talk of unity in the church, of which the Christians don't even know what the church is all about? Ngwa is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to all of you, Mr. Leo. Good hit today. And my question is to Apostle Ambe. He said, let Anglophones should not convince Anglophone by killing them. But I heard him on a show last week strongly supporting Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Why not give? Okay. Yes, but Apostle Ambe, you are the one to come on now. I want us to look at our unity from the perspective of the leadership of Anglophones. We have had persons like the late Kadinatumi, we have had the Frundis, we have had the Balas, and then we know those who are there now. How united have they been to show proof of a purpose, a common purpose?
Let me start by saying this. A young man met me and said he had a dream that he died.
Okay.
And I told him it's not a bad dream. That God is calling your awareness to stop death from coming. That you dream that you died is not a bad dream. If you don't dream, then the death comes. That's what it's very bad. So if at all we are trying to call Anglophones awareness to their divisive nature, it becomes a crime, then they don't know why they are on this earth. Coming back to the unity, Akeba, who was the president of the consortium that started this whole stuff, I have not heard. I've seen people insult him, blackleg, demon, sell out, traitor, betrayer. Those are the adjectives that have been ascribed to a man who kicked off this whole thing we find ourselves today. I have sat down. I have seen people also call Kadinatumi as working with the government to convince Anglophones to throw away their dream. I've equally seen people reason and they say Sako is a demon. As a matter of fact, I've never seen any Francophone do a video to satirize Sako. I've never seen a Francophone do a video to satirize Ayabacho. I've never seen a Francophone do a video to abuse CDN. The videos I see on social media is either Eric Tato is telling others Sako is a thief, or Mark Barretta is telling others Ayabacho is a demon. Tell me the Anglophone, the Francophone, whom we have seen once do a video on television and trying to sabotage the image of the Anglophone forerunners in the crisis. Tell me. When we want to outline truths so that we can pick up from the broken pieces and be able to put ourselves together and forge ahead, people think we are here to make mockery of something that we have stood our grounds and communicated. When you give analysis based on what happened, not what is happening, you're not an analyst. We give you analysis based on what is on ground. This revolution or whatever is happening is not the very first. People reach a certain level, make up their minds. We are not the first to fight against a state. Nigerians started in 1967. At a certain level, they reasoned themselves and calmed down and decided to surrender. That was their own. Bougainville fought at a certain level also. They had division. At a certain level, they reasoned also, re-strategized, and then they fought and got their independence. It's to let us understand that when we become myopic, lopsided, and very, very, how do I put it, funny in our thinking, we just have to behave like a group of sheep that are going in a particular direction. Even if we are going to drown, we just keep going. We are not standing here to talk about the divisive nature of ourselves as Anglophone because we are here to insult each other. It's a wake-up call. But as Achu said something here, we could come and bring ourselves together to form a common force to give the Anglophone a voice in the country. We could do this to even move into the parliament and then petition our requests in a legislative manner rather than carrying guns. This is what we are talking about, analysis. So if you tell me that there's a level of solidarity and unity amongst us, it's a very big lie. I will say it on this platform, and I don't come on television to entertain people. Nobody fuels my car to come here. Nobody gives me food, and nobody takes the risk I take. And you don't expect me to come and speak what you wish because you didn't sponsor me on television. The truth is, we are all Cameroonians, and we come from the English extract of this country, and we love our people. We will give you the truth, even if it is not sweet in your ears, if it is bitter. Take it. Never Queen is never sweet, but it treats the system. The truth is this. The level of division we have had has delayed even the crisis than expected. We have not studied only Anglophone crisis. We are living in a situation where we have studied and gathered experience from other crises in the world. So let us not behave as if we were just ignorant or blind. Anglophones are not the very first persons in the world to threaten to separate. And not every country that threatened to separate succeeded. Some surrendered later on and joined the country. Others did until they succeeded. So what is your stand when we ourselves cannot even speak to each other? You watch social media from Instagram to YouTube to WhatsApp. It is us. Us. It's us. I'm telling you, I've never seen any Francophone doing a video to insult or sabotage the Anglophone struggle. It is either Mark, but I'm calling the names. You will see their videos all over. Is it me who's telling people? What kind of unity is that? The Jews are a people. If a Jewish man enters here, a Jew is excreting. He will never say it. I have learned one thing from the Muslims. They will never sell each other. Never. You go even to the gospel, it is preachers who will stand to sabotage another preacher on the pulpit. You have never seen an imam insulting an imam? Do you think the imams are perfect? No. It's to let us understand that we are sick and it must be treated. So the division is very, very harsh. You and I were on a platform today. Somebody wrote something about Swella, which I don't want to get into that. And he said it has been agreed since in 1960. That in case there's going to be even federation, it's not going to be West and East Cameroon Federation. It's going to be 10 states. Because they assume that the riches of Southern Cameroon comes from their own portion of the country.
Yeah, but late Senator from Mukage, who was president of the Southwest Chiefs Conference at the Senate, made it, during the major national dialogue, he made it clear.
So what do you expect? They say that the riches of the two regions come from them. The petrol is them. The banana, the rubber, everything comes from them. So if there's going to be a federation, it should be 10 states because they want to have anything to do. Listen, we have had a lot of bullets, arrows, insults as far as this particular thing is concerned. When we give analysis, we are giving analysis to call to awareness our people to come to a place of reason. You don't just follow something sheepishly and you're just going, if you are going to drown in an ocean, you drown and go.
Okay. Yeah, I want us to look at attacks on Anglophones by Anglophones. How would you appreciate that? Where is this coming from and what is the motive? How has that helped to unify Anglophones the more?
You see, when you use dictatorship and terror as a means to convince a people to follow an idea, at that particular moment, you rather divide them or you scare them away from you. A lot of insults, in fact, threats, And not only threats, but also killings of Anglophones by Anglophones. Have in a measure way pushed Anglophones against those individuals who claim that they were out for their sake. Just of recent, the people of a particular village came out, caught the same people whom before they were protecting, and handed over to the military. Why do you think it happened like that? The more you use terror on a people, the more you dictate upon them, a time comes when that indigenous gift of freedom reacts. They step up their game and choose to die, or in fact, die fighting. And if they are unable to, if you are unable to kill them, they will make sure you go down. And that is a situation that is practically happening right now. When you follow through in the northwest region and of recent also in the southwest region, where the population is coming out against the Ambe, is proof enough that they are conquering that fear which was used as a means to keep them at bay. You can't use threats as a strategy to subjugate the people. If you use that as a strategy, a time will come when they will react. And that time has already come. So when you look at the so-called messy crisis in which we find ourselves in, where Anglophones are killing Anglophones in the name of so-called blacklegs, betrayers and whatsoever, I don't think that is a strategy that can ever successfully give them what they intend or fight for. Because I don't think if you kill any of my family members, I will forgive you for that. No, I don't think so. Even if you claim that you are fighting for me, there will be a time when I'm going to react if I have the opportunity. And that is exactly what is happening right now. And so I think that this idea of using arms to subjugate a people who have an opposite opinion to yours is not the best. When you intimidate them with arms because they rejected your position, I don't think that is what you should be doing. Everybody has a right to their own position, to their own ideas. If you say this is what you want, it must not be what I want. Based on what I have been able to look, and in fact, I go through, I put a lot of things together, I reason and analyze them, then I make my own decision. You do yours. And so our differences in opinion does not make us enemies. Neither does that make me a blackleg or you a blackleg or a betrayer. So when we use terminologies that do not actually permit us to work together, then don't expect us to be respected anywhere. And that is why today we have become, in fact, more useless than we were before. We have become losers than we were before. In the situation where we find ourselves right now, if you go, what was actually keeping our people together in the northwest region, for example, and the southwest region, academics was one of those things that was actually empowering and enriching those regions. But what happened? Most of the schools have closed from those areas and they have been reopened in the French, in the east of Mongo.
That's the question I had for him. That's the question I had for...
Okay, you, and then I'll let him come to answer it. Okay. So when you see all this, you realize that we are losing instead of gaining. And so using that particular strategy will empty the regions which we are struggling to fight for, or might be the so-called country we want to fight and gain. So let us re-strategize if we want to make a difference. Get to the table, reunite, unite yourselves, and see if we will not make a difference.
Yes, many persons have said that one of the biggest industries Anglophones actually boasted of was the industry of education, with the schools like the Sasses, the Bureau Corps, the Lords, the Sacred Hearts, the Ashons, and everywhere. Yes, that is lots and lots of Francophones would send their children to school in these areas, and I would even want us to get into the assimilation process. When these children went over there, they studied but Anglophone, now.
English.
Yeah. So was the assimilation not the other way around?
Okay, please pardon me. I want to go back to the I don't want to leave something untouched.
Man of God.
Please. Okay. This is somebody said that a prophet is without honor except in his own hometown. This is the case in the Bible. Jesus was talking about Nazareth because he grew up there, and because of familiarity, the people were not respecting him and giving him the honor that is due him. It's not like you are in a country, you shouldn't have that could be applicable even to your family. That some people in your family, because they know your history, will not believe in you, but it's not like the country at large, you see. And even somebody cited Apostle John Chi. Please let me say something on this. Apostle John Chi is coming from Nigeria through Emmanuel TV, and you see that's still Nigerian projection. Okay, let's look at a preacher who grew up in Cameroon here. How many of them are able to mobilize people from around the world? That's what we are talking about. Apostle Chochi from Emmanuel TV, we already knew him, how God was using him to do one or two things, and he has come back home. People, there's that continuity, you see. But when you talk of a preacher who has come out from Cameroon and is creating the impact that is necessary, I think we're still to do that. And that's where we need the support of one another so that we can get to that dimension. Okay, coming to the education, to what you talked concerning education, I think that our people, the Anglophones, it's not like we are painting Anglophones black. There are good aspects of Anglophones that, if we want to talk on that, there are so many. But we are looking at the problematic part of our attitude as Anglophones. We're not focusing on the strong. We have a lot of good things. For instance, the education we're talking about is something we have as Anglophones. And right now, because of what is happening, it is under attack.
Seriously.
Because it was a sector that no other person or no other group of persons could beat us in this country. Most of the most intelligent people in this country, to an extent, came from they are Anglophones. They are from the are you see that? So we have a strong point when it comes to education. Now, talking about the Anglophones, the Francophones who could go and study in Anglophone schools, let me tell you something. They are the ones grabbing the Anglophones job.
True.
They are the ones taking our place. Are you getting it? Because they are not. When an Anglophone man, we believe that you should have an Anglophone. You should originate from these two regions. That's why you are called an Anglophone. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that there are so many people from this French side who have taken positions that were reserved for Anglophones. And you see, it's creating more problems for us, because where will you situate them? Will you put them as Francophones or Anglophones? They have the English culture in them. They are speaking English, and they are also looking for that position. And to an extent, they are the ones who get the position. Then there is also something which I want to point out, Mr. Kum, which I saw yesterday. Mm-hmm. I think is worth talking about. Mm-hmm. The president of Sonakam mm-hmm. is under attack from the French, from his French colleagues who are into fellow musicians, and sooner they may unseat him, and the Anglophone media is not talking about it. And why is the Anglophone media not talking about it? I think there's a problem. From the time he became president, I don't know how much he has done for Anglophone media, and how many Anglophone media houses has he visited. You see, that's why when you don't support your own, when you are in danger, your own too will abandon you. Are you see? For instance, even the Anglophone, he has not been received. He has not come here. Are you seeing? It's the same thing that is happening to other Anglophone media houses. And look at how he's been attacked. For instance, there is something which I saw under the post of one musician like that. I forwarded it to you. You forwarded it to me, the Mani Bella. You see, it came from yes. This is something that they are supposed to pay to Sonakam for. So she was complaining that she's playing only her music there, and that's a lie. That she's supposed to pay that amount of money, but they are using it to fight him, and there's already a clique among them that wants to unseat that man, and he's not having protection from his own because he has not treated his own well. It's the same thing with Anglophone ministers. We all know that this is politics is a game that you need to know how to relate with people. You need to strategize. Those who can support you, those who can support you. No, it is what's happening. Those who can support you, support them, because you need them in some strategic moments. But if you are there eating alone, you fall and nobody will support you. You eat alone, fight alone. It's a principle. So I think there's a problem going on with Anglophones, and they need to sit back and see how to support their own. Okay,
Prince Joel, we are talking about the Anglophones as the Anglophone problem. I want us to look at the subsystem, our subsystem of education and our common or law system, because that is actually what, when we talk about Anglo-Saxon culture, that is what we're talking about here. Yes, how have we protected this common law system and our educational subsystem?
Maybe I'll leave the common law system to the lawyer when he gets to him. But talking about education, Mr. Leo, I've had most of my friends of French extraction who've told me, j'aime votre culture. J'envoie toujours mes enfants là-bas chez vous. Most French people send their children to Nsah. If you go there and you want to find out, you discover that a majority of students who used to be there came from the French system.
Yes.
Yeah, even CPC Bali. Why? Because they believed that the Englishman is that man that a child will not say Uncle Leo good afternoon, say Uncle Leo good afternoon.
Yes. That they came to learn a culture.
That is what brought them. I'm speaking what they told me. Most of my friends, yes.
That is why I asked about the assimilation, whether it was not the reverse. They were rather getting the culture.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying that, Mr. Leo. A majority of them sent their children to borrow a people whom they believe were well trained. They believe that children who had the English system of education were not only educated, but were morally upright. That when it came to respect, they gave it to you until you were afraid.
Yeah.
Now, so they were sending their children to go borrow this. Now, Mr. Leo, when we have a situation, I was going through, I think, the Guardian Post the other day, and from statistics, it was, I think, the UN, that not up to 37 schools were going, like government schools in the Northwest. I was like, what is happening to us? Mr. Leo, when in other parts, in all parts of the world, that a crisis has happened, education has always been preserved. I do not understand why education should be what people want to use to show their might or their strength. Because when this crisis started, in 2016, Mr. Liu, I have a cousin, by then he was to go to lower sets. He had just had his ordinary level. And you want to agree with me that when the crisis started, there was something like the year will be declared, there will be no school. The government will come and say no school. Now, there are people who heeded to that with the impression that, okay, the following year, even those who wrote, there will be nothing as exam, the government just cancelled. But where are we? Nothing was cancelled. Those who wrote were declared successful. Now, I think that attacking schools, we are not, rather, those who are doing it are not playing a fair one to the students. They are rather, like you put it, they are rather giving their culture to the other people. Because if you come, for instance, in Bonaberi and go to Lycée Polyvalent Bonaberi, that school is populated until there is no way. The highest business now in town is schools. Why? Because most people who folded their arms the first year, that is in the 2016, that there will be no school in 2017, were like shocked that no, school held in 2017. Now, a majority who still persevered in 2017 saw that the attacks were increasing. They started shifting to come to safe zones. And they are shifting, where are they going to? They're coming to the French speaking regions. And when they come, what are they learning? They are rather abandoning the English culture that they were taking in other schools, and they are rather tapping from other cultures. That's why I'm one of those who've never supported the idea to attack any school. A majority of these people who today call themselves the leaders, whom when I look at what is actually happening to them, it's a shame the way the crisis has taken it. The way the crisis is, it's not good. It doesn't sell well for any Anglophone. When you talk to most parents out there, they tell you they feel bad. They feel bad because they've lost their children. They feel bad because they've lost their houses. They feel bad because they've lost what they were feeding on. Mr. Liu, in 2016, when the crisis started, I was not told. I saw communities, I saw mothers contribute money. I saw people contribute money to support a revolution, to support their children whom they felt were fighting for their independence. But now when you look at what is happening today on the field, is this how the fighters struggle? Is what is ongoing today in the Northwest and the Southwest struggle? It is rather a business. A group of guys in the diaspora will just sit and make a phone call that, okay, we've given lockdown for 1 week and that General Dis need guns, fundraising. And that's what is done. So I feel that, Mr. Liu, it's time we woke up. It is good to fight a cause. The cause that the lawyers put up, like the barrister in Congo, it was a genuine cause. The cause that the teachers like Fontaine put up, Dr. Niba taught me. The cause that they put up, I looked at it, it was open because they were like, when you come and want to think that BAPC and GC ordinary level are the same, it is logical. As somebody who went to school like me, I think that they were correct. Because you don't go for 4 years and have an exam. I go for 5 years, I have an exam, and they say we're all the same. Before we came to the class 6 system, the Frenchman has been doing his Kum Leonard long ago. Long ago, it's just yesterday that we came inside. So the ideas that these people brought were correct. They felt that you cannot have somebody because the person is of French expression. I've seen teachers who did mathematics in ENS. Because they are French speaking, they come and teach French to Anglophones. And it's also the case when an Anglophone is transferred to another school and maybe to teach geography. And now that teacher finds him or herself in a purely French school, they say, okay, mon, come to Bamenda. Because to my French brothers, anybody who speaks English is a Bamenda. Now, comme tu es Bamenda et tu peux quand même t'exprimer en anglais, en fait même l'anglais là c'est quoi va enseigner. Now, the teachers, their course was genuine. That of lawyers was genuine. But now, what is ongoing on now? If they were to ask even me, I don't know what is happening now. Because you have a group of persons who have, for selfish interests, it's no longer the interest of the people. Because of their selfish interests, they have diverted something that initially was very clean, very clear. Mr. Liu, when the Endelis and the Fonchas were wooing for people to go vote for the plebiscite, the 11th of February. They never used guns. They did not say that schools should stop. Endeli simply gave his own agenda.
Opinions.
Foncha did same. And on the day of the plebiscite came and people had the ballot box to choose. But what we have today is, as you say something, just like I'm saying now, there are those who start saying, this young man has been bought over. They know how to read people. But when they are bought over, nobody knows. They know how to, they know how to rate people. As they listen to you once, twice, the young man has been bought over. This man is now speaking from the other side of the coin. So it's...
They came from me on the AC.
Yeah, so they know how to... I know there is one of them who now owns a company called Zippos that is importation of cars and things like that. So it just tells you, Mr. Liu, that the crisis has shifted. It is it is time we came back on track and go back to the 2016.
Okay, I totally agree with Pastor. with Pastor, most Francophones send their children to study under the Anglophone system of education. The children end up having more opportunities than the Anglophones. Why? Because firstly, most bilingual citizens in Cameroon are Francophones, and they have greater advantages than us Anglophones who speak just English. I am in a school where 90% students studying in English are Francophones, okay? Would we, because we never used the other day, okay?
No, we don't.
Who understood?
Good evening, Mr. Liu and dear panelists. Please, it's worth reminding Apostle that the main front liner of the crisis is Southwestern Dr. Sisi Ayuk. How would he even feel when he hears divisive statements like that? And Chuck Clinton is writing from Boya. Good evening. To be honest, I love the man of God, Apostle Ambe, for his objectivity. I wish most Anglophones will reason along the line with the Apostle. May God bless you all in the studio. Pastor Marcos Onekon writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu and the panelists. Honestly, I applaud objectivity of Apostle Ambe. Man of God, keep it up. Okay, Mr. Liu, I wish all the Anglophones will reason. Okay, thank you. This one says, I totally agree with the pastor in the studio. Thank you very much. This one says, good evening, I really enjoy your program. Thank you too. Good evening, everyone in the studio. I think the main reason why people travel from Cameroon to churches in other countries is because of miracles and not to serve God. Because after getting whatever miracle it is that they want, you won't see them traveling again. So they don't, okay? Muyang Shina is writing from Bamenda. This one says, good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Aisha Colin, writing from Banyu. Congratulations to you people. I really love the program. Anglophone is sick, for truly we really need prayers from God. If not, we will finish ourselves with this program. Okay. Sounds. Okay. Good evening, sirs. Linjo Nelson, watching and learning from Yaoundé. Thank you so much for this program. I wish to say that we live in a time where the dead is celebrated more than the living. From experience and observation, the Anglophones prefer to celebrate their own in a grand style when they are dead. When someone is alive and is in need of support to start or run a project or vision, or even sick, there is no one to support. But if the same person dies, the same people will contribute, buy t-shirts, post all over, rest in peace, even travel to the village or wherever to celebrate the dead. Let's learn to celebrate and support the living. Thank you so much for this program, Mr. Leo. Okay, thank you. Good evening, sir. And the panelists, I agree with Apostle Ambe. Our problem is egoism, and that is why this problem cannot be resolved. Kudos to you all in the studio. Mani Christabel writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Mani. God bless you. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Okay. God bless you, man of God. You alone have mastery of the subject matter. God bless you, Apostle Ambe. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Achu Julius. We have just a few minutes to go. My question to you now is, we actually have a problem as Anglophones. We have a problem as Anglophones, and you have always advocated for these things to be sorted out politically. You've asked persons to go through political parties, but you know how difficult it is in Cameroon when we talk of party politicking. What is it that you're telling Anglophones in general as a way out of where we find ourselves?
First and foremost, you want to effect change in a country like us. You must be where decisions are taken. If you are not where decisions are taken, you will talk and talk You march and march and nothing will happen. How do we get there? The best way to get to where decisions are taken is by politics. It's not by the gun. The gun is nonsense. The gun is for a moment silent excitement in somewhere. But you do politics, you get it all. Have you imagined if SDF went for parliamentary elections in the 90s? At that time, they were on the peak of their popularity. What would happen? This country would be different. And that is politics that could have changed this country to the way, to the tune of certain persons. And maybe we should have been having what we're having today. Then secondly, you know, I say Anglophone and most Anglophones don't have a problem with each other. Our problem is we've lost that protection instinct of what is ours. Who will be happy, for example, to go to Bafut or to Santa and be mishandled by some small twat who is carrying a gun? As you jump out of the car, go and sit in the mud. Who will be happy? Instead of protecting the guy who's Anglophone, say, look, I have a genuine cause, I'm carrying this gun because I want this. Try to convince that person that, look, instead of mishandling me, look, please, this is my cause. I want you to support me. They do the contrary. How are you going to be happy with such things? Thirdly, we have a problem of respecting our seniors.
Yeah.
You know, now everybody is a lion.
It's a giant.
You know, at a certain point in time, when a lion is there, the cubs grow up. The cubs suddenly become lions. And when they become lions, they start fighting the main lion which is there to drive him away. And that lion fights back. And while fighting back, there's no solidarity. There will be no solidarity. It will be a free-for-all fight. And anyone who loses, when two dogs are fighting, and innocent one comes and picks the bone and goes away. That's what's happening with you and me. We say, look, for example, we are saying that we want to conserve our culture. All of us have taken concern of the fact that all of us are coming to the Francophone zone. In the next 10 years, that thing Anglophone will disappear. That thing about Anglophone culture will disappear because our kids are going to have it all muddled up, all mixed up in such a way that you tell them certain things of the 60s, it will be like some far-fetched story. And that's what's going on. So the earlier these guys stop this nonsense, the better. Coming to this issue of the common law. You know, I am a unionist. And I believe in this country the way it is. We can fix it. But I realize that most Cameroonians think that some other people should fix it for us. We're the ones to fix it, for goodness sake. Those guys in the diaspora, for example, who run their mouth and say lots of things about this country, who do they think will come and fix the errors that they are seeing? They have learned something good where they are. Bring it back home and teach us and tell us how we can follow up. No, they don't do that. They see the bosses to give us instructions. The common law is something we inherited from Britain as a colonial master. To me, I'm not very proud about it. I remember way back in 1977, we'll be struggling to harmonize our laws in Cameroon. That's where the system failed. By not struggling to bring these two cultures to make one which is unique to Cameroon. They came with the assimilation procedure that has completely failed because the Anglo-Saxon culture is more powerful than the Francophone culture. So you cannot take a subset to fit, a subset to grab a big set. It's a big set that grabs the subset. It's like osmosis. The stronger solution drags to itself the weaker one. And that's why no matter what you do, it's difficult to hide the Anglo-Saxon culture. So, but the country should have done everything to harmonize the system in such a way that we have a Cameroon system. We have this, for example, today we have the same penal code applicable to the whole country. It is very successful. We have the same penal criminal procedure code. It is very successful. We have the same law on administration. It is very successful. We have so many laws which have been harmonized. Labor law, which apply all over the territory. It is so successful. Why can't we do it in every sector? Why can't this country just take up that challenge and say, look, let's make Cameroon to be Cameroon. Let's forget about this nonsense about French Cameroon and English Cameroon or whatever, and build a Cameroon that all of us like. That's what we should do. And how do we do that? We have to be where the power or the decisions are being taken. Because the frustration of Anglophones is that we are not really where those decisions are being taken. Because you cannot sit, for example, you see the Ministry of Education. Maybe there's no Anglophone director when they're preparing the syllabuses and curriculums of schools. Do you think a Francophone can tell what story can a Francophone director say in that panel about Anglo-Saxon education? What? Cannot say anything. And so whoever is there will babble something and fit into the system and it becomes trouble. Because it's like taking a round peg to put in a square hole or vice versa. Because the guy who came with that idea about our own system of education to see how we can merge it up knows nothing about our own system of education. So you see, one thing is certain, in as much as we have all of this going on, the issue between us and Anglophones, which to me is not a problem, because whenever you meet an Anglophone anywhere, the Anglophoneness in him always comes out. No matter the fact he has different opinion with you, it always comes out. They say, oh, that is my brother, but I don't agree with him. We are used to that, which is normal. But we can arrive there, but what are we supposed to do to succeed is make sure we are where those decisions are taken. For example, I was suggesting that, look, it's high time, for example, an Anglophone becomes the vice president of this country. Why not? And by so doing, with time, those things will be put together in such a way that, like in the tectonic places that we have in geography, they will come together and fit themselves in such a way that the harmony will help everybody will be happy with it. All of us agree that Anglo-Saxon education is best. The whole country.
True.
Why not just take those parts which are very good and harmonize this to have that type of system here? Why? It's very easy. So those are the type of things to be, which we're looking forward to. And not showing to see we'll take a piece of to take a gun to shoot at somebody because you don't share the same opinion. No. And that's what we have, that our approach stems from there. Because for example, I remember when I went to University of Yaoundé, there was this issue of Anglophones being called Anglos and Francophones being called Frocs. It was strange for us to see that instead of standing online to go to a restaurant, people were fighting. Instead of standing online to get into a normal public bus, people were fighting. It was very strange to some of us. But we got adjusted into it and struggled and ameliorated and changed some of those things in such a way that people started standing in the line despite after fights. And this thing, Anglophone frock, became a normal parlance in such a way that it was no longer an insult. We developed friendships with Francophones. I have friends which are very close to me are Francophones, which our parents never had. Our parents never had friendship. Despite the fact that they were living apparently together, they never interacted, because I remember my father was in the same office with Minister Amadu Ali and Akuhmbom. But I asked my father, this guy, you were in the same office sitting and discussing. Why are you not your friends? See, that was it. So you see, when you see, go back to our history, we couldn't mix up because it was like Achu soup and water. Okay. So, but if you want Achu soup and water to mix, you must boil it. Or you must boil it, otherwise it will not work. And they never boiled it for it to work. And the best way of boiling this thing was harmonizing the systems. We'll take which is good from Anglo-Saxon and which is good from French, we'll merge it to form a Cameroon model. And that Cameroon model we shall love to, because I'm not lying to you. We still love our penal code. We still love our labor code. We still love our criminal procedure code. The main issue that we have now in law is the civil procedure code, which is still pending, and the family code. And those things which are still, I don't know, we don't know, some of us don't know why it's pending, because we are not where the power is to look at it.
Okay.
So let's stop all this confusion and get into politics. Do politics, get into parliament, and make sure we're there where they take decisions.
I gave you all this time because you came late and yes.
Thank you very much.
Apostle,
I had so much to say, but I'm sorry I came late. I couldn't say it all.
Apostle, thank you for coming. We are out of time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Leo. It's always a joy to be here.
And also to you, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo, for the opportunity. And I say it's always a pleasure being here. And I want to extend greetings to some of my family members, to my aunt Doris, who is presently watching me with her husband, and to the parliamentarian of Tuba, Awoga, who is presently in Yaoundé, and who is also a brother, whereas to all of you out there.
Prof, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. I'm happy, and I always want to come when I'm invited.
Prince, thank you for coming.
The pleasure is mine, Mr. Liu, being once more on board. I want to seize this opportunity to say good evening to the peace-loving people of Mukage subdivision, and to His Royal Highness Fon Thomas Kimbosa, and to the entire Fumas family.
Okay, let me finalize, please. It is time for Anglophones to protect each other, to help each other. This is one of our best studios in Cameroon. Sure. Why can our Anglophone businessmen not do adverts here to encourage this studio to go very far? That's what we're talking about. The first first 10 Cameroonians are Anglophones, the first richest 10 Cameroonians are Anglophones. People don't even know that. Why can't they help a studio like this to make it grow? Why can't they help you and me to make sure that we become empowered? That is where our problem is.
They are insulting us.
Okay, yeah, they are champions in insults, and keep them coming. When you insult, the more it inspires us also to work very hard, and we appreciate the insults. Thank you. Yeah, though you insult us, we love you back. We will not insult you back. We want to thank the production team and to all of you who took time off to watch the program and accept the facts, though they were somewhat bitter. They had to come forth. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.